In northeastern India, beside the Brahmaputra River, there is a village where people still speak carefully about knowledge outsiders were never meant to fully understand. Its name is Mayong. For centuries, Mayong has been known across parts of India as the land of black magic. But the deeper story is not horror. It is older, stranger, and more human than that. This is a village of manuscripts, healers, temple ruins, river fog, whispered warnings, and stories passed from one generation to the next with unusual caution. Some legends say practitioners once used mantras to influence the mind. Others speak of travelers losing their direction in nearby forests after ignoring local warnings. Some villagers claim old healing rituals were once practiced here with knowledge that was never written for the outside world. And even today, Mayong does not feel like a place trying to prove anything. That may be what makes it more interesting. The village sits quietly in Assam, surrounded by fields, bamboo groves, wetlands, and temples that appear suddenly through mist after the rain. Small museums still preserve handwritten texts connected to older spiritual practices. Elders speak in careful sentences. Certain stories are told only halfway. One traveler once asked an old man if the legends were real. The man did not laugh. He did not explain. He only said, "Some things were never meant to leave this village." Tonight, we explore Mayong, India, a place where ancient manuscripts, local legends, healing traditions, forest shrines, and unanswered questions still blur the line between folklore and possibility. This is not a ghost story. This is the story of a village where ancient magic may not have fully disappeared. Mayong does not reveal its mystery immediately. At first, it looks like a quiet village in Assam. Narrow roads pass through green fields. The Brahmaputra moves slowly nearby. Morning smoke rises from homes. Bamboo bends in the damp air. Children walk past temples without looking twice at places visitors stop to photograph. That ordinary appearance is part of the tension. Because almost everything unusual about Mayong is carried quietly. Not shouted. Not displayed. Carried. For generations, stories spread about practitioners who knew mantras, healing methods, protective rituals, and forms of mental influence outsiders eventually described as magic. Some accounts spoke of people being hypnotized. Others described strange cures. A few told of travelers who entered nearby forest paths and returned confused, unable to explain why familiar roads suddenly felt unfamiliar. One local legend tells of visitors who came to Mayong looking for hidden temples. They followed a path into the countryside during fog, certain they were only a short distance from the village. But as they walked, the road began to bend in ways they did not remember. The trees seemed to repeat. The same patch of wet earth appeared more than once. Bells sounded ahead, then behind them, then nowhere at all. When they finally returned, hours had passed. No one in the village seemed surprised. That is the kind of story Mayong carries best. Not loud terror. A quiet dislocation. The feeling that something ordinary has shifted without permission. Inside the village, preserved manuscripts add another layer. Some are displayed behind glass, old pages, faded diagrams, ritual notes, chants, and handwritten symbols connected to practices that once mattered deeply to people here. One traveler described standing before those manuscripts during monsoon rain. Water struck the roof. The room smelled of damp paper and old wood. Outside, the village moved normally. Inside, the pages seemed to belong to a world that had not completely vanished. When he asked a local whether people still understood everything written there, the answer came slowly. Not everything should be used again. That is the kind of sentence that changes a place. Because Mayong's mystery is not built on monsters. It is built on restraint. On knowledge remembered carefully. On elders who answer direct questions with silence. On stories that feel less invented than protected. The land around Mayong matters as much as the village itself. Forests, wetlands, temple paths, and river mists surround the area. During monsoon season, the countryside can change within minutes. A clear road becomes blurred by fog. A familiar grove disappears behind rain. A shrine that seemed close suddenly feels farther away. This landscape helped Mayong's reputation survive. One traveler described walking near an old temple path before sunrise. He had been told the route was simple: follow the narrow road, pass a grove of bamboo, and return before the fog thickened. At first, everything looked peaceful. Then the mist lowered. The fields vanished first. Then the trees ahead lost their shape. The road beneath his feet remained visible, but only for a few steps at a time. He heard bells. Soft. Not from one direction. From several. He stopped walking and listened. The sound faded. When he continued, the bells returned, always slightly ahead of him. Then he realized he no longer recognized the path. The grove he had passed earlier appeared again on his left. A small shrine he had not seen before stood beside the road, partly covered by leaves. A clay lamp sat inside it, recently burned, though no one was nearby. He turned back. But the road behind him looked different. Later, when he asked villagers about the shrine, one man said there were many old ritual places in the area. Some were known. Some were forgotten. Some, he said, were better left alone after rain. Another visitor told a different story. She became briefly lost near the edge of the village during heavy fog. A woman appeared beside a tree and silently pointed toward another road. The traveler followed the direction and found her way back. When she turned to thank the woman, no one was there. That story could be coincidence. A helpful stranger walking away. Fog confusing distance. A nervous traveler remembering things differently. But in Mayong, stories like this do not stand alone. They collect. A bell with no visible temple. A path that seems to repeat. A lamp burning in a shrine no one admits visiting. A stranger appearing only long enough to guide someone away from the wrong road. None of these moments need to become horror. They are stronger as whispers. Because the most interesting thing about Mayong is not that people claim impossible things happened. It is that locals rarely rush to deny them. The manuscripts of Mayong are not just objects. They are the reason the village feels different from ordinary folklore. Stories can fade. Rumors can grow. But old pages behind glass create a different kind of unease. They suggest that beneath the legends, something structured once existed here. Texts connected to chants. Diagrams. Ritual instructions. Healing practices. Protective formulas. Verses written in scripts many visitors cannot read. Some traditions were linked to medicine and herbs. Others to meditation, discipline, protection, and spiritual practice. Over time, outsiders collapsed all of it into one word: magic. But that word may be too simple. One traveler described speaking with a man who knew families connected to older practices. The man said some knowledge was never meant for performance. It required discipline, memory, and responsibility. A mantra was not just a sound. A ritual was not just a gesture. A healer was not simply someone claiming power. The traveler asked whether the stories about controlling minds were real. The man looked toward the river before answering. People today want proof. Earlier people wanted control over themselves first. That answer changed the meaning of the legend. Maybe Mayong's mystery is not only about what people could allegedly do to others. Maybe it is also about what they believed could be done inside the human mind. Fear. Pain. Illness. Desire. Memory. Attention. Those are ancient subjects, and Mayong's reputation grew around them. Another visitor described entering a small temple during evening rain. An elderly priest sat near an oil lamp, reciting verses from memory. The room was dim. The flame moved whenever the wind slipped through cracks in the wall. Outside, rainwater ran along the ground toward the fields. The visitor noticed an old manuscript wrapped in cloth beside the priest. When asked what it contained, the priest did not open it. He placed one hand over the cloth and said, "Old medicine. Old prayer. Old danger." Then he continued chanting. That moment gives Mayong its strongest identity. Not a haunted village. Not a place of cheap fear. A place where old knowledge survived in fragments, respected, feared, misunderstood, and perhaps deliberately hidden. Mayong is not frightening in the obvious way. There are no dramatic ruins towering over the village. No staged darkness. No one chasing visitors with ghost stories. That is why it works. The unease comes from small things. An elder refusing to answer directly. A shrine lamp burning with no one nearby. A road that looks different after fog rolls in. A manuscript nobody wants to open. A local who lowers his voice when the conversation becomes too specific. Those details create more tension than exaggeration ever could. Most visitors leave Mayong safely. They take photos, visit the museum, speak with locals, walk past temples, and return to ordinary life. But some leave with a question they cannot fully shake. Why did this village, among so many others, become associated with ancient magic for so long? Why did the stories survive? Why do the manuscripts still matter? Why do some residents speak about the past with caution instead of performance? The answer may never be simple. Part of Mayong's reputation may come from folklore. Part may come from healing traditions. Part may come from real manuscripts and old spiritual disciplines. Part may come from the power of a landscape where fog, rivers, forests, and temples make mystery feel natural. But when all of those pieces exist in one place, the village becomes difficult to dismiss. That is the true pull of Mayong. Not proof. Possibility. The possibility that older ways of understanding the world did not vanish as cleanly as modern people like to believe. The possibility that some knowledge was hidden because people feared misuse. The possibility that the strangest stories survived because they carried a warning inside them. And somewhere in Mayong, between the Brahmaputra, the bamboo groves, the manuscripts, and the temple paths disappearing after rain, that warning still feels alive. Not loud. Not theatrical. Just waiting. If you enjoy exploring hidden worlds, ancient traditions, mysterious villages, sacred places, and real locations where old legends still feel alive, this is exactly what Tilt and Chill is about. We explore places that do not give easy answers. Forgotten cities. Sacred mountains. Hidden valleys. Ancient rituals. And villages like Mayong, where history does not feel finished. Subscribe to Tilt and Chill and join us as we continue searching for the world's most fascinating mysteries. And tonight, imagine standing near the forests outside Mayong after rain. Fog moves slowly between bamboo trees. Somewhere ahead, a small temple lamp glows through the mist. You walk toward it. The bell rings once. Then the light disappears.